Mm-hmm.
I have almost 17 years of IT experience.
Oh, great, great.
I'm handling the IT infrastructure and security for Sony. I'm based in Mumbai.
Okay,
I
great.
joined this session because every day is
Mm.
the new learning. I'm still a fresher. That's why I
Right,
thought
right.
let's have a
So,
participant in this. I
right,
also
right.
worked with
So,
Atos Origin earlier. I started the manage operation when I started in Atos. At that time, I'm the person who part of that startup manage operation in Atos.
okay, great, great. So it's good to have you, right? So even you can share your experience with us so that the people like us will learn
Yeah, yeah,
from you,
definitely.
right?
It's a, whatever experience I have, I still, as I said, I'm a fresher.
Right, right, right. So we have I have my there's one more people guy named Vinit Subeda. Is the same Vinit guest
Yes,
or
yes, yes.
okay, okay, fine. So I have my colleague Mr. Priyadarshi also. So
Actually,
Priyadarshi, could you please?
I try to connect from my cell phone because I was not able to
Okay,
do it before. So
no
I'll just
problem.
leave that from my cell phone as since
No
I'm able
problem.
to.
That's not a problem. It's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Priyadarshi, go ahead.
But first of all, I would like to thank you to you that Rohan taken up
Yeah,
this kind of initiative
right,
and
right,
given
right.
knowledge transfer because knowledge is the main thing for in
Uh,
the world.
right, right,
So
right.
appreciate to you actually.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's a lot. Thanks a lot. So Priyadarshi, yes. Sorry,
Yeah. Hi everyone. My name is Priyadarshi Kasbe and I am working with VMware for last 3.5 years. Actually, I'm not working on technology. I'm working on the process and process improvement and process re-engineering and coordinating with the project. I'm just keen on, attending this session because Rohan is one of my good friends and I just wanted to get some knowledge, whatever I can. And hence I'm here. And Rohan, thanks for
yeah,
this initiative.
yeah, no problem, Pidi. Thank you. There's one more new guest who have joined named Atul. Could you please tell us something about yourself, Atul?
Hi, Rohan. So my name is Atul. I'm working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can, we can.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm working as a senior system administrator with
Hmm.
NSR, and I just want to learn the virtualization and stuff. So that is
Okay,
my
great.
primary motive, and really
Right.
thank you, Rohan, for
Yeah,
putting in efforts.
you're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start the session, right? So, share screen. So today's session is about basics about ASXi and vSphere, right? So slowly and gradually, when we done with the basics, we can move ahead with all the granular part or all the lower part which we have, right? So to start with, okay. So what you guys what I just want to everyone to express their feelings about it, right? So what does the VMware ESX or ESXi server means? uh, you guys can unmute yourself because I don't remember if I do the full screen I'm unable to see who is online or who is yeah,
So yeah, hi, this is Dilip here. So
yeah, yeah.
VMware ESXi, it's like you can, yeah, it's a hypervisor. You can say a physical machine or a hardware which has very high configuration for the compute, as in resources, so that it can host multiple other guest OS onto it.
Okay, but that is much technical. I don't need technical. What is VMware ESX or ESXi? Just a basic, the way you don't know anything and you're talking like, so I just need very much a basics what it is.
A high configuration machine.
Okay, anyone else?
It's like a virtualization layer on top of the. We are just creating a virtualization layer
Mm-hmm.
utilizing the physical hardware, and we can get the complete use of the physical infrastructure. That's called as virtualization or the VMware product.
Okay, okay. Anyone among this, Atul, Arvind, what do you understand about
Yeah. So basically,
VMware is?
it allows you to have one physical hardware and allows you to host multiple virtual machines on them to basically, yeah, that's what I understand by.
Okay, good. Anyone from PD? What do you understand about VMware ESXi? VMware or ESX or ESXi?
It's a OS. It's a kind of a small footprint OS which we are just updating on the
Exactly.
physical.
Right.
It's,
Exactly.
yeah.
That what the answer I was expecting. Right. So the
Hypervisor. Yeah.
yeah. So PD, what is your thought on this?
Yeah, I was saying that it's a hypervisor, basically a uh, layer to manage the hardware.
Okay, great. So on the layman term, like with the people who don't know anything about the ESX or ESXi, right? So I would simply say it's an operating system. It is it's not a high end server. It's not an I can say it's not an I can say it's nothing high end on that. It's just nothing but an operating system. The way you have Windows, the way you have Linux, so way you have iOS or the way you have Android, right? So it's nothing but an operating system. But the quality of this operating system is it's nothing like it's something running on it, right? So the operating system is usually used to run the virtualized environment on it. So hope you got what I mean to say. What is ESX and ESXi? So ESX is the previous version. Later on, it advanced itself, and it is now known as ESXi server. So ESXi is nothing but a bare metal operating system, right? So bare metal is nothing but you can say uh, it's an operating system, right? And you connect that operating system to run you can say a virtualized environment, right? If you compare ESXi with Windows, right, or and Linux, so Windows we have a base operating system and you install different softwares on it, right? So it requires a base operating system kernel, right? So it requires a CPU, memory, hardware to run that operating system. And on top of that, when you install some application or software like Chrome or Outlook or whatever, right? So again it requires another set of hardware or set of resources that is used. So what if we eliminate Windows, right? Or we eliminate Windows based operating system and we just install an operating system named as Outlook or named as Chrome, right? So what you guys say that how the performance would be? Because even if you take an example of Windows or Linux, right? So base operating system would which eventually require I can say 4 to 8 GB of RAM, right? And again it requires 4 core of CPU. So what if we eliminate that and we just put an base Outlook or base Chrome on that, and people can connect it remotely and you can save the hardware or you can save the resources and eventually that will be helpful in saving the hardware cost, wherein we require 10 servers, so you can use the particular a single server, and the people can remotely connect and access their mails, access their Chrome, access their stuff, right? So what do you guys think? Is the explanation you got it what I mean to say, or you still have a doubt? You can unmute, that's not a problem. If you are in noisy environment, that's not a problem. You can unmute.
You're right,
Yeah.
Ron. I'm with
Yeah,
you that the beauty of this kind of technology is that, as you rightly said, it's a OS, but it's a very light footprint OS.
Agreed,
On
agreed.
top of that, it can be run from the chip also instead of utilizing a hard disk and all. It can run from the chip also. It's just a
Right,
mediator. So that's
right,
how
exactly.
we can fully utilize the technology instead of just OS is consuming more and all.
Right, right. So we have VMware ESXi running on that small operating system or a small hardware which is known as Raspberry Pi. If people might have heard of that. It's a small server. It's look like I can say graphic card or a bigger pen drive or hard disk, right? So it's a very small footprint. It's very much small server or a small hardware wherein it is so lightweight. So we'll go through some of the hope the basics are clear with everyone. What is ESX and ESXi server? So people can unmute themselves and ask me anything.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. So can anyone of you read this for me, so that it will be anyone with good audio? That's fine.
Yeah, sure, I can try.
Yeah, you can. Anyone,
Yeah.
anyone. It's
Yeah.
not a.
So basically says the VMware ESXi server is a computer virtualization software developed by VMware Inc. The ESXi server is an advanced, smaller footprint version of the VMware ESX server, VMware's enterprise level computer virtualization software product. Implemented within the VMware infrastructure, ESXi can be used to facilitate centralized management for enterprise desktop and data center applications.
Okay. So it is clear, right, to everyone? So I just need someone else to read the second topic, para.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
VMware developed ESX and ESXi as bare metal embedded hypervisors, which
Mm-hmm.
means that they run directly on server hardware and do not require the installation of an additional underlying operating system. This virtualization software creates and run its own kernel, which is run after Linux kernel, bootstraps the hardware. The resulting services microkernel, which has three interfaces: hardware, guest system, console operating system.
Okay.
That's service console.
Okay, so hope this even I'll also read that, right. See what it says is VMware ESXi server is a computer virtualization software developed by VMware, right. The ESXi server is an advanced small footprint version of an VMware ESXi server, VMware's enterprise level compute virtualization software product. Implemented within the VMware infrastructure, ESXi can be used to facilitate centralized management of the enterprise desktop as well as a data center operation. So it is self-explanatory, right. So it is some kind of operating system, the operating system which has a smaller footprint and it can be directly installed on the server hardware, right. So there is no operating system required. People can connect that and that can be used for, and I can say, enterprise application publishment, enterprise desktop, enterprise server, whatever they can do on the as per their need, right. And as per second definition, VMware developed ESX series as a bare metal embedded hypervisor which can then run which means that they can run directly on the server hardware and do not require a installation of additional underlying operating system. This virtualization software creates and run its own kernel, which in run after Linux kernel bootstrap the hardware. The resulting server is a microkernel which has three interfaces: hardware, guest system, and console operating system. So what it says, right? The ESXi or it's so powerful, right? So it has its internal hardware. It communicates with the external physical hardware. It has its guest operating system, but that is very much lightweight, right? And it has a console, right. So you type the IP address of that particular ESXi server, you can open the console, you can run the virtual machine inside that particular set of environment, right. So it is so lightweight and it is so feasible and so flexible, wherein the people can log in and they can publish the application, they can publish the virtual machine, and they can do whatever their as per their use case it is, right. So hope the basics are clear about the VMware ESX and ESXi, right. So what it is exactly, it's on a simple words, it is just an operating system, it's nothing else, right. The beauty of this operating system is it doesn't require any kernel to, I can say, a base operating system doesn't require any special kind of hardware or a special kind of OS layer like we have for servers and desktop, etc., right. So it directly runs on the only on the base hardware, right. And we can use the console to access that, right. So there is no need that we can log into a server only in a kind of troubleshooting and configuration we need to log in, or else if you want to work you need to do, I can say, a browser based login, or I can say the client based login to log in into that ESXi server. and you can do the machine provisioning and stuff. Right? So hope this thing is clear to everyone, right? What the basics are. What is the ESXi server is? ESX or ESXi server is. So this is the main core hardware, or the main, or I can say, when you talk about the VMware, the first thing comes in the mind is VMware ESX and ESXi. It is the, I can say, base core tool or base core software or uh, base core application which is developed by VMware, right? So it is a VMware owned developed. There are many tools which VMware as I can say acquired from a different company, but this is the backbone of VMware. So without the ESX and ESXi, the VMware won't be existing in this world or in this IT domain. So hope the basics are clear. I just need a confirmation so that I can proceed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is how it looks, right? So this is the hardware. This is the VMware ESXi, which we spoke about, and these are the virtual machines which are running on top of ESXi. So this is the black one is the base hardware. This is the operating system which we talk, and these are the virtual machines. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, Ron. Yeah. Yeah. Agree with you.
Okay. Okay. So we will see how the basics about the ESXi installation, right? So we will see how ESXi we install. Like many of you might have installed Windows or Linux in their environment, right? So it is much more simpler than Windows or Linux, right? It is simply straightforward. Next and go. Okay. So I'm not sure whether you guys have installed or not. So I just want you to tell your thought, right? So how you installed any of the operating system? What are the way to install the operating systems? Anyone?
USB,
Okay.
CD drive,
Great.
pen drive.
Anyone?
Through ISO. Through ISO, actually.
Great.
Nowadays, the
Through
image
network.
available,
Right. Okay. So I just
and
want
then
everyone to speak it up a bit, right? So that even I won't feel like I'm just talking and you people are listening. So
Also, we can boot the OS from network as well.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. So fine. So you guys are aware how to install the operating system. The same way ESXi is installed, right? It is simply said you power on the server, insert the CD-ROM, select the first boot device at CD-ROM, you proceed, right? So it is as simple as it is. Hope you are able to see my screen, everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
yes, yes,
Yep.
we can see,
Yes.
Okay.
Rohan.
Yeah. So once you see, if you format your PC also, right? So there are different drives to boot off, right? So if your operating system is corrupt, so you usually use your initial USB or a CD-ROM, or I can say PXE or a network boot to boot the system, right? So that the kernel, or I can say motherboard, knows where to boot your machine from. The same way, we need to select the first boot device as a CD-ROM or where you mounted the base ISO, right? So once you see the CD-ROM, you will see this option. It is quite simple. So you say it is quite, it says ESXi installer, or you want to boot from a local disk, right? So this option is pretty clear, right? So you need to install, if you have an existing operating system installed, you can boot from a local disk. And if you want to install and format the local drive, you need to boot from the ESXi server. So this is how it looks like when you do next, right? So the things will load on the cache, right? It will show what all things are booting up and what all things are going on currently, right? The same way it will ask for ESXi installation. It's the same whatever operating system or which version you install. It shows of 6.0, but again 6.5, 6.7, the installation part is the same. So it says welcome to ASXi6. When you also install Windows, it will do some caching before it will take some required data and copy it into a local drive. Right? Yes, anyone got something? So when you click on enter again, it's actually it will ask for EULA, where you accept the EULA and you proceed. Right? So it usually happens that. So you accept the EULA and the installation proceeds. You select the language, right, which is a keyboard or language which you need as a default one. Right? You can select yes, this being a Windows. Sorry, this being a Linux, right? So it require a you root username and password which uh, you need to install, so that when you log in into an ESXi server, so initially it will ask you for a root login ID and password. So this is all, it will scan the system and get the system information, right? So it will, system means a local hardware installation. What hardware is there, it will scan. And again, installer configured, you can, again, disk is repartition, you can click on enter. So it says the Esxi installation has started. So it will see the installation has started. Probably in for 10-15 minutes, you will see the operating system is installed depending upon the hard disk you have. If you have a SSD, it will take much time. If you have a magnetic disk or a hard disk, right, it will take pretty much time, right? So again, the installation and complete. It says remove the installation from disk before removing. So installation mounted on the server, or I can say on a local, will it will disconnect, it will reboot the system. So this is how you see after once you log in into ESXi server, right? So when the installation is done, this is the only thing which it says you need to use this HTTP IP to manage the ESXi server. If you want to log in into over here, this would be a pretty black and white stuff, right? So there won't be much things to do on then apart from initial configuration, logs, troubleshooting, etc. So it is just a black and white stuff. So you need much into a it has also shown what is there inside this. So we have a configure management network, restart management, test management, configure keyboard, troubleshooting options where you have a troubleshooting, system logs, system support information, and reset system config. If you see any problem and you want to reset and make this default, this option is there. This is the only thing we can see on this UI. So again, it shows the IP configuration, which IP6 or DNS you want to use, DNS suffix. This is the way to enter the IP address. DNS configuration, and it's done. Uh, it's done. If you configure that and you just restart a management agent, you will be able to log in into, I can say, a ESXi server, and how the console will look. I'll show you. So this is how the console it looks like. So you log in into this server IP addresses UI. You just hit HTTP or HTTPS, and this will show you enter your root login ID and password, and this thing will open. So this is the host which we usually connected on using the root account. You can see over here, it's the root account. Right? So when you click over here, this is the console you will be able to see. So where you can go to host, you can create a virtual machine, you can shut down, or you can manage the entire virtual infrastructure or the virtual machine which are there or which are installed in this particular host. You got the point, everyone? Any doubt so far?
No, Ron, it's a
No,
good, easy.
no.
Okay. So hope I'm explaining, and this is eventually. Fortunately, this is the first session which I'm taking to the unknown guys. So I'm not sure how I am with the explanation, right? So I have done few session on my internal friends, on my colleagues. So probably uh, they might have they might have understood what I mean to say, right? So hope you guys are understanding, and probably we are all on the same page, and
Yes, fine.
probably.
No, no,
Yeah.
Ron, it's going good. Don't worry. It's really
Yeah.
good, and it's
It's
Yeah.
good,
going
Ron.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Ron,
Thank
we
you.
are able to understand.
Okay. Okay. So till the time it's fine, right? Till ESXi, what the ESXi does, how to access the ESXi, how to install the ESXi, right? So that post your confirmation, I can proceed on the further slides which I have.
Yeah, please, Ron, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron, we can proceed.
Okay. So this is again an interesting topic. Probably this usually people, I can say, ask in an interview what is the difference between vSphere server and vSphere client, right? So we have learned about ESXi. It is the basic operating system, a basic hardware, or a basic hypervisor, or whatever, right? So it is on the server side where we installed, we configure, and we use it. So again, I need the cooperation or the understanding from you guys. What does the vSphere server or vSphere client means?
Client is just to connect with the server. So for example, you install the operating system, how to
Mhm.
manage. To
Mhm.
manage that, we need a client, so at least we can connect to OS and we can manage as an
Great.
administrator.
Okay. And what about vSphere server? Any thought, right? So it is nothing like if you say something, it would come on you, right? So we are just doing a friendly discussion over here, right? So I just want to understand what you mean by vSphere server and vSphere client. So you might be in day to day, in a day to day work, you might be working or you won't, but you would be helping, like you just log into a client, log into a server. So what does this client and this server mean? Anyone? Ankit, Arvind, Atul, Dilip, Dinesh.
Probably vSphere server is like it's a product from VMware.
Mm-hmm.
So which basically I mean to say like um, it basically when you are installing a vCenter server, it
Mm-hmm.
is used for that thing to manage the all the VMs to connect. You can say centralized location.
Okay. And client?
Client is just for connecting and managing that thing.
Okay.
So the client
Uh,
can be a web client or you can say a installer as well.
okay. Okay.
I think
Fine.
this vSphere is like a manager which can manage a multiple ESXi host.
Okay. And
And
client?
ESI and client is ESXi itself a client to
Mm.
vSphere.
Okay. Okay. To start with the definition, right? See, we have a multiple ESXi server, right? So I'll just go to this paint and I'll try to explain. So we have a different ESXi servers, right? These are the ESXi server, right? So what you say, this is the server 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you want to manage the server 1, you need to access this, manage the server 2, you need to access this, manage the server 3, you need to access this, manage the 4. So you need to log into 8 different URLs to log in. Got the point? So these are the different ESXi servers, right? So you want to access all these servers, you need to use 8 different URLs. So do you think that is feasible way to access the ESXi server? Can anyone tell me that? Is this
There
the
should be
genuine?
a centralized point where from where we can manage all of these.
Exactly, exactly. You got the point, everyone. So for managing all those ESXi server, right? We need one centralized, I can say, appliance or a centralized location where we can manage all the servers. So that centralized location is known as vSphere server, right? So what this vSphere server is again it's an installation OVF, which I'll show you how to install the vSphere server also. It is nothing but an OS that is installed on the ESXi server. Like we have a number one ESXi server, you can mount that. You have OVF file. You can install that OVF file on the server one, and you can make that particular server as an ESXi server, and that particular server will be helped in manage all the 8 ESXi server. So it is nothing but a centralized managed machine or a centralized managed location where we log in and we manage all the ESXi server. So how to manage that? Yes, you need to log into a vCenter server, right? And you need to add the URL where we have an option to add host. So you need to add the host URL of all these 8, I can say, ESXi server, and you can simply manage. I'll show you the way you have this a single host. So you will see a multiple 8 hosts over here, and you can see the similar console. You can click on each and every host, and you manage. You got the point? What is an
Yeah.
vSphere server, right? And
Sharon, do we install vSphere server on top of ESXi or
right.
like okay,
No, if you want, you can use a separate hardware also to install ESXi server, a separate I can say separate core server to install, but that is not eventually required. You can install the ESXi server on vSphere server on an ESXi, right? So if you take an example, this is the first server you install. You took the URL, you mount the OF, and you install the vCenter server, and you access the
okay,
vCenter server to add those all the 3 VMs into this vCenter server, so that it will be easy for management.
okay, okay.
So again,
Thank
we
you.
have the option wherein the vCenter server is again into an HA mode, wherein this copy of this vCenter server is there on server 1 and server 2 also. So if this server 1 gate fails, it activates from server 2. Got it?
Okay.
So we have that high availability also that we can discuss in the previous session. So I hope I am clear about what the ESX vSphere server it is.
Yep.
So
Okay.
vSphere and vCenter server, these are two different products, right? I mean,
vSphere is a vCenter server.
okay, that is one and the same.
One and the same, right? vSphere server, it is a more technical card. You can use at a vCenter server.
vCenter. So it can be a virtual machine also, right?
Yeah, it can be a virtual, it can be a physical, but VMware recommends that they have trust in their virtualization. So they say that it's better to have a virtualized. Eventually, it's a management console, right? So even if you delete the virtual or the server which is it's powered on, still we will be able to manage using this individual URLs. So there won't be any effect in the entire running machine, virtual machine, if this thing fails also. Even if this thing fails, there won't be any impact on the running virtual machine. Eventually, the virtual machine is running on this physical host, which is the 8 host which I have discussed, right? And this vCenter server is just managing that host. It's not doing anything else. Got the point?
Yes.
And the vSphere client is a simple explain. It's a self-explanatory, right? You log in into a server using the vSphere client. So vSphere client is nothing but like I can say this Chrome browser where you log in and you go to Google, you go to Amazon, right? So this is nothing but an explorer, right? It's nothing but a client, right? So prior to 6.5, we used to have a thick client, as if I would explain Outlook client, which you have a local Outlook client, right? So VMware is also used to have a thick client wherein you used to log in, you to install the thick client and you used to log in, you entering the username and password. But after 6.5, 6.7, 7 is only having a web client. So web client like an Outlook, a web console you access. So you use the Outlook web console to access the emails, like just like Gmail or Yahoo, whatever it is, right? So there is no need for a software to access that. You can simply use any browser and you can manage your vCenter. So is it clear
Okay.
till then?
Yeah, Ron.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so can anyone help me in reading this, please? vCenter server, anyone can unmute their cell phone. Mr. Dinesh, you can try, or
Yeah,
Mr. Dilip.
sure.
Yep, yep.
You want me to try?
Yeah, you can. You can. Yep.
vCenter Server is an application that enables you to manage your vSphere infrastructure centralized location. It acts as a central administration point for ESX hosts and their respect virtual machines. vCenter servers can be installed on a supported version of Windows, or you can use a pre-configured Linux version known as vCenter Server's appliance. vCenter Server is required for some advanced vSphere features such as a vSphere hybridity, vSphere fault tolerance, vSphere distributed resource scheduler, that is DRS, vSphere vMotion, and vSphere storage vMotion.
Exactly.
vSphere
So
client and yeah, sorry.
yeah. So I'll give a I'm sorry. I'll just give a basics about it. It's clearly says it's a, I can say it's an application that enables you to manage the vSphere infrastructure from the centralized location. It's in fact a centralized administration, which I've already said, to point the Esxi host and with the respective virtual machines. So vCenter server can be installed on the supported version of Windows, or you can use a pre-configured Linux version known as vCenter server. So this Windows option was there before, but now after 6.5 we only have a appliance based. So we have a ready-made Linux appliance. You just need to enter the hostname and IP address, and you're good to go. Right? So it is no need to install something, because the Windows has a dependency on the Windows operating system, which is underlined the operating system which we have. But later on that is removed, and we can have a ready-made OVF appliance that can be installed. Do next you do the IP address configuration, and you're good to go. So yes, the things I have said is vCenter server or the vSphere server doesn't has any, I can say, uh, uh, impact on the existing virtual machine or existing VMs which are running in the environment. Uh, but it plays a vital role in those functions like vSphere high availability, vSphere fault tolerance, vSphere distributed resource scheduler, vSphere vMotion, and vSphere storage vMotion. So to enable all those functions, we require a vCenter server, because vCenter server manages the all 8 hosts which I have mentioned, right? And it sees what all things it's I can say it's a supervising, or it is supervising all the 8 ESXi servers, or the 8 physical servers which he has, and it manages on the advanced way, right? It Whenever he sees that there is some issue with some particular host, right, it's getting down, it will migrate that VMs from one host to a different host, and it will power it on. If you'll see there is some resource contention on the I can say on that particular ESXi host, and the other ESXi hosts are free, so it will migrate few VMs from this machine, this server, to a different server, right? So it happens on the storage part also. If you'll see some of the data store or some of the storages servers is having a high storage utilization, and there are few servers which are free, it will migrate those VMs from this heavy loaded, I can say, virtual heavy loaded physical servers to another physical server. So got the point. So enable all this feature, we require a vCenter server. But again, if the vCenter server is not there, or it is powered on, or it is not working, there is no impact on the virtual machine running within it. So hope that this is clear, right? So what the vCenter server is.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So anyone can go ahead with reading the second option, vSphere client or vSphere web client.
vSphere web, the vSphere client and vSphere web client.
Mm-hmm.
Both tools can be used to manage your vCenter server. So the
Mm-hmm.
vSphere web client is the recommended way to manage an ESXi host, while the host is managed by the vCenter server.
Exactly. So what is the very self-explanatory, right? It is just an web client, or I can say it's a client browser, or I can say it is something like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, where we have a centralized tool to explore, or to manage the virtual environment and the vSphere client. So what is has is it's vCenter server database, right? So anyone can read, please.
vCenter server database,
Mm-hmm.
which stores inventory items, security roles,
Mm-hmm.
resource pools, performance data, and other information. Oracle and Microsoft SQL Server are supported databases for vCenter Server.
Right, right. So what it says is, So what it says is to store the inventory, right? To store the virtual machines data, to store the ESXi data, store the network data, they require a database, right? So probably it is MicroSQL, which is on Windows part, and there is an inbuilt Postgres, which is not mentioned over here. The inbuilt Postgres is also there in vCenter server appliance, which is the ready-made appliance which we get from VMware, where the database is stored. Can anyone read for a single sign-on?
Rohan, just one question here. Like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
this database which you mentioned, this Postgres or anything. So
Mhm.
it stores the entire information without. Like, can we see what all details are being stored in that database? Do we
Exactly,
have the
exactly.
visibility?
Right, we have the visibility of the database. If you take an example of Microsoft SQL, so you have a SQL database installed in the vCenter Windows appliance, right? So we can log in into that server using the login and password. You can find the servers using the query, right? So it is as simple as it is, right? So if
Okay.
anyone has
So the
worked in a, yeah.
inbuild I'm talking about this
Okay, so in
Postgres
build also
SQL.
we have, right. So in build also we have a Postgres and the Oracle, it says. So in build also we have a Postgres database, right? So when we are troubleshooting something, you need to SU into a database or into login into and then that Postgres database, and you can see there are different queries or different functions to access that. So yes,
Okay.
you can have each and everything, you can see each and everything apart from the encrypted part like passwords or also
Understood.
you
Understood.
can you can see everything, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry if I'm asking multiple questions.
No, that's fine,
Yeah.
because see, the my concern is I need a friendly session wherein the people can ask more question, right? So
Yeah, definitely,
again,
definitely.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool. So yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so if suppose if again if I have to look that Postgres SQL, what all
Mm-hmm.
details is stored. So do I have to
Mm-hmm.
log into the physical ESX host or like where do I have to dig in?
No, so this as I've already said, this vSphere server is installed in a two way, right? One is on the on I can say Windows server or an OVF appliance, which I've already said, right?
Yes.
So if the vCenter is installed on the Windows, you need to log into a Windows box. There would be a database server embedded in that particular, or it depends upon the environment if they have a separate SQL server installed. So you need to
Okay.
do through SQL Explorer. You can see what all there in the database, and on the appliance part. So appliance, the server database is embedded in that appliance. So there is nothing a separate database for that. So there are separate commands you need to access into that database. Once you log in into a database, there would be a database queries, right? Or the database commands which you need to use to explore that.
Hmm.
So both the database can be easily accessible using the vCenter server. You don't need to log into an ESXi virtual machine anywhere. You need to log in into ESXi server and you need to explore.
Okay.
Okay. So about the vCenter single sign-on allows the authentication against the multiple user repositories such as Active Directory. So again, uh, when you have a centralized repository, there would be a people accessing that. So we need to keep the hierarchy of that particular users accessing that vCenter server, right? This is you don't need to give admin access to everyone apart from the people who are actually managing it, right? So there are different level of access like read only. There are few level of accesses wherein user can modify few things. They are restricted on few parameters, right? So authentication, making that simple, you have an Active Directory connector. So we use the Active Directory authentication wherein we connect the Active Directory repository to vCenter database, right? So or I can say vCenter console, and you eventually I can say configure the roles accordingly. Like you have a server admin role in Active Directory which has a domain admin. You can same user or a same group can be given as a vSphere admin role. If there is something like user, you just need to access the ESXi servers or the virtual machine. They need to just take a console. You can access and give the rights accordingly. And this is the managed host. ESXi server and their respective virtual machine is known as the managed host. So till the time, hope everyone are clear what I mean to explain. Right?
Yeah, Rohan.
Yeah, Rohan. Yeah.
Okay. So any questions till now? Any? I don't mind. It would be a silly or whatever, but I would appreciate if anyone can proceed and ask me what all things are there. Or shall I proceed with the next slide?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So this is the again we'll show how the vSphere installation it is, right? And vSphere web client views how it is. So we'll see the vCenter or vSphere installation how to install that. So as I've already said, it's given over here, right? To where someone asked me, wherein they say that if it is a way to install, right? It would be a particular host, and if anything goes down, so there is vSphere high availability. High availability means it always available. So we have a option that to enable that vSphere high availability. What it does it, this is the primary vCenter, right, and this is the secondary vCenter. So the when you enable this, the what vCenter does is it clones itself into different nodes. So one is the active, one is passive, and this is the witness node, right? So what it does it, and there is an inter network, so that a heartbeat is happening between this. This is the active, which is currently active. If this thing goes down, witness node triggers the passive node. So again the second host gets up. So as soon as this server gets up, again the role is transferred to an active node, and we can proceed accordingly. So what the witness node does, it monitors both the vCenter server on a simple way, on a simple definition, I would like to say, wherein the primary node fails, it transfers all the traffic to a passive node, and these two hosts are kept separated on the different ESXi server, so that if those two ASICs are on a single server, even that goes down, again there will be a problem. So hence it is kept away from each other. So this is the deployment of the ESXi server, how we install the ESXi server. So prior to this, we had, I can say, there are two ways. One is the simple installer method, which we are exploring now, and there is another way wherein they have a ready-made OVF when you download the OVF. But after 6.5, VMware just went through a simple installer method wherein you have a I can say download a bundle of that installer. You open that bundle. It is located in VCUI Win32. This address. It is located in this address. Right. So it is a simple next installer which we are going to see. Right. So when you double click on this, it will show a different option, which is install, upgrade, migrate, and restore. So on the layman term or on the basic term, can you guys explain what this option would be? Right? The way you understand this four options when you click on the ESXi installer, right? So it gives this option. What does that means exactly? People can unmute themselves. Yeah, I'm asking.
Yes, so the install it's self-explanatory. When you want to
Mm-hmm.
install new vCenter appliance,
Mm-hmm.
so you'll use
Mm-hmm.
that. Upgrade is whenever a new version is available, or you need to upgrade to newer version, then
Right.
you can use the upgrade version.
Right.
Migration, it's also self-explanatory that
Right.
you want to like go from Windows to the Linux one or something
Exactly.
that.
Exactly.
Restore is if something is corrupted and you want to go to the last working point. I guess
Exactly.
that's how it works.
Okay, great, great. So probably people are aware of this option. So getting this option, the VMware has developed this easy installer method wherein it gives us the bundle installer, and you can simply use those options to proceed further, right? So as we are installing this, right, so it's the same. It says installer or deploy appliances, right? So you click on next. The EULA, you need to accept this EULA. Right? So it will show what it is. So you need the embedded PSC or external PSC. The PSC is nothing but a platform service controller, and this platform service controller has, I can say, all the authentication, authorization. It has a certificate management. It has there are many functions of the PSC. You can Google it and see how many there are. 8 to 10 functions. There is license management. All those things is done by PSC. So usually previous to this 6.5 or 6, so there would be an external PSC which is as shown here, wherein one PSC is there, and It used to we used to use that platform service controller to connect to a different vCenter, but after that VMware has recommended to have an embedded PSC. So this platform service controller will be embedded on the particular appliances at the time of installation, right? So again, if you have any doubt anything on that, you can simply unmute yourself and ask, instead of wondering later what it is exactly, right?
Rohan, can you just
Yeah.
briefly tell the differences between both?
Okay, so what it is, right? So take an example, you have a previous version of ESXi, right? So which had an, I can say, platform service controller already installed, and your environment or your I can say a use case, it says that it require an external platform service controller. So and they don't need to use the additional platform controller, so service controller, they need to use the existing one. So in that option we need to use this existing platform service controller option, wherein you use the existing platform service controller and you connect the new vCenter into that platform service controller itself. And if you are deploying a fresh vCenter or a fresh environment, there is nothing installed on that. And if you don't have any I can say previous version of ESXi to migrate to, you can simply use the embedded PSC option, right? And this embedded PSC, there would be a single appliance, a single, I can say, a plane where we can manage the entire ESXi or vCenter environment, and you can proceed with the installation. And again, if you have there would be one use case or the issue wherein you have a separate PSC, so there would be some connectivity issue between the vCenter server and PSC. So again, the user won't be able to authenticate, and you need to again troubleshoot on that part. So as we have both the appliances embedded into a single appliances, so there won't be any, I can say, issue like this, right? Where we need to where you are dependent on a external PSC to proceed. You got the point?
Yes, Rohan.
Okay, okay. So
Yeah,
any
Ron, yeah.
questions as of now? You can simply ask it as the same moment, right? So again, I said that you say you should mention the vCenter name, where or ESXi host or a vCenter name. So we are deploying an I can say on the fresh one. So you need to mention the first ESXi host where we need to install the ESXi host, the port, the root username and password. Specify the VM name, which is the vCenter server appliance VCSA, which is just the you should mention the this particular vCenter server, a username, a root password, and a confirmed root password. So in the next skin, there is a different options you can see, right? A deployment size which is tiny and this stuff. So this option is self-explanatory, right? If you install tiny, this all things would be. Uh, can anyone read this chart for me, please? Can anyone, or do you want me to read?
Oh, yeah, I can try.
Okay, okay. So the main reason of asking this is, right? So the people have the query, right? What option we wish to select, right? So there are different options, right? So the more you go ahead, see more host or more VM you can manage, right? So one or two options if you read, that would be.
Yeah, so like if we basically shows what the VM capacity you want. So if we select the medium,
Right,
so the requirements would be of eight CPUs,
right,
24 gigs of memory, 425 GB of space, and the
exactly,
storage.
right,
Host 1,000 hosts, and we'll be able to, I guess, manage 10,000 VMs up to.
right, right.
And
So
similarly, yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
No, no, similar would be with the extra large ones as
External,
well,
right,
and
right.
automated. Yeah.
So things I would like to say is this CPU and memory, right? The CPU and memory would be something of this particular vCenter we are doing it, and the storage is again for this particular vCenter itself. But the host and VM is the way I've explained about the 8 host, right? So when you select the extra large option, you can add up to 2,000 hosts, and you can manage up to 35,000 machines. You got the point.
Yeah. So here,
Yeah.
like here, host means the ESXi or
Right. The ESX host means an ESXi host. Yes.
okay.
And VMs means the virtual machines which we configured inside.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it 3,500 virtual machine and 2,000 hosts. So people ask how it can be done, right? So it depends upon the hardware, right? If particular one host or one physical machine is of I can say more gigs of RAM, it has more CPU, so we can exit it till its limit. Right? So, but this is the maximum which we can do it. Okay. So again, you need to select the local data store where enable thick or thin disk, whatever. So again, you need to add the virtual network IP version. IP assignment would be static. Select the IP addresses. System name, IP address, DNS, and gateway. The same way which is the basic we do for each and every server and host. Right? And this is the I can say summary, right? If you want to change anything, you can go back and change, right? So the for the lab, he might have selected tiny, he has selected all the options, right? And click on finish. So this will take again a few minutes to install. So post installation, you can log into that. You can again log into the I can say vSphere appliances, right? So there is another step for configuration wherein it says setup of platform service controller. So when you see platform service controller, it's asked for NTP, right? NTP is required for type enable SSH. Right? It said single sign-on, setup of single sign-on domain name. Single sign-on is nothing but a local domain which we used, the administrator username and password, and site name. Site name is nothing but a location of that particular site. So it says if you want to join the customer experience program, that you can select ready to complete and finish. So again, this appliance configuration will complete. Right? So post completion, it will say that you is where you log in into a disk client getting started 443. So if you want to configure something on the web client, you can use this getting static page is 443. So again, this is the again a same way, but this is a different. You can see a different tabs over here, right? So it is the vSphere. This is the VMs and templates tab. This is the data store tab. This is the I can say a network tab. So if you expand this, there would be a different host which we manage from here. And this is the again there are two way of managing particular appliances. This is the front end of that particular, and this is the back end. Back end means if you want to change the IP addresses, you want to do licensing and stuff, so you need to log into a back end. So back end is nothing but I can say VM name, and you can select the port 5480. So we can configure that particular the core appliances instead of login taking access to putty or through, you can use it through a web client also. So what all options are there? You can see all options: backend, create a bundle, reboot, shutdown. There is a networking option. There is a CPU option, time. If you want to upgrade something, administration and database. If you click on database, it will show the queries and things which are going on right away. So this is all about the I can say installation of the vCenter server. So probably any questions I would appreciate if you can unmute yourself and ask.
Uh,
No questions as of now.
Okay.
Rohan, I have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
There was a drop down, right? You choose the timing to have some kind of number of hosts,
That's right.
hosts. Okay, in case I chosen one, I installed it. So post which my requirements are becoming higher. Then
Okay.
we can change it, or we can repair like kind of thing we can do. Like
Just a minute.
reinstallation is required or something.
This one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one, I guess, probably it is recommended. You can't do this, right? If you once you selected this, you won't be able to change this, right? But again, if there is some requirement wherein we need to use this particular appliances, we can do some tweaking on that. But again, that is not recommended by VMware, right? So because there is a I guess a thought in mind, right? If you do tiny installation, the people think like if you extend a CPU from 4 GB to 8 GB and memory from 24 GB, it will become medium, but this is not the use case. This is not the way to, I can say, increase this. It means increasing the physical host won't increase the architecture of that particular ESXi server or vCenter server, and this is not recommended by VMware. But in few environment they say that they need, and so we can do some tweaking. But again, if it landed, if it might come to some issue wherein there is some break fix required or something, so VMware support at that moment will say that boss, this is the tweaking, it is done, is creating a problem. So it's better you can use this option. The starting option, it says, you says you can use this option, this migrate option, right? So this migrate option, you can select the old vCenter, then you can select a new vCenter, and you can select this option, this third
Okay.
option.
Okay, so if I have the new license from VMware, that license is supported for 200 hosts. Consider that one. So shall I apply that new license to the existing vCenter, that whether it can be modified to support
Yeah, so
200 hosts?
right. So licensing won't be a problem. Whichever installation you took, license will work as it is, right? So license is not dependent on the what you think you select over here. License is only dependent on, I can say, the number of hosts which you do or number of VMs which you have. But after again 7.0, we have a socket based license, right? So in that socket based license, we have a physical socket, and you need to pay for that physical socket. And of course, it supports up to 32, right? So if you have a single socket with 32 cores, you need to pay a single user license. If you have two sockets with two cores with two physical socket and 32 and 64 cores, you need to pay for two licenses. So it is now has changed, right? So this thing doesn't deals with the license, right? If you select tiny also, it will take a same license. If you select extra large also, it will go to the same license. Again, it depends on which license you took an advanced or a basic license, so that those features would be enabled, like HAFT, those things will be enabled, and depending upon the licenses. So licensing doesn't come in this.
Okay.
Okay, got the point.
Yeah.
Okay, so any questions more so that I can proceed with the previous other slides?
No, no question.
Okay. So I'll show you the web client views, how it is, right? So probably many of you might have seen that. So this is how the web client looks like. These are all the VMs, right? And these are the task plane which is there at the bottom, right? And this is the VM, and you can see the VM summary like action, monitor, configure, permission, right? So it is simple explorer. If you click on this, it will open a new page, and you can log in into that particular VM using the console access. The way you access for uh, Linux server, you have a putty, and for Windows you have STSC. But again, you need to log in into a core server or a core VM without any external stuff to log in. You can directly log into server. You can click over here, and it says launch remote console over here. You can select this option. Right? So it's how it looks, right? So it has a navigation. It has a recent task. It has alarms, right? So this is divided into these types. Right? So again, if you want to install some OVF, so this is the option. You have a URL or you have a local repository. You need to use that option to install the OVF. This is the networking. Again, this is the, uh, uh, I can say advanced level views which we have: a networking, storage view, data star, network view, right? So storage adapters, network adapters, all those things are in this view. So this is the customization. Customization nothing but if you are installing a VM, and you need to customize some default parameters in that, right? Like generating a UID or adding an IP addresses. That this can be done using the VM customization. So this is all about the views of the vCenter. I can say environment, right? So I wish I could have shown. I have a pretty nice environment to show up, but again, depending upon the privacy and stuff, I'm restricted to that. So that's the reason I've found some few articles, right? And probably I'm available 24/7 on WhatsApp. So any of the doubts you have, you can ping me on that, and we can discuss and we can proceed with that, right? Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, this is again an interesting topic we need to take. What is a virtual machine? So in this, I can say virtual machine is the term, right? Virtual machine or a virtual server, or whatever you call it, right? It might have came to every one of you on their day to day usage, right? So what is a virtual machine on a very basic or elemental, right? So you guys can unmute and tell what you think about this. Anyone?
So VM is a machine which shares the resources with the other VMs, like in the on the same ESX or something.
Okay. Okay. What about you, Ankit? What do you think about virtual machine? What it is? Anyone? Ankit, Atul, Dilip Kumar, Dinesh, Vinit. Anyone? What do you think? What is virtual
Yeah,
machine?
sorry.
I just mentioned, right, like it's a machine which shares the resources with some
Okay.
neighboring VMs on the ESXi.
Okay. And anyone else?
So basically, it's a machine which uses a server level operating system, but does not have its own physical resources, rather than uses resources from a hypervisor like ESXi or something.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else?
Virtual machine is a set of files, okay, that having a compute level data and storage data, everything,
Okay.
and that file has been accessed by a hypervisor, and
Okay.
hypervisor is supporting the hardware which is required, like the disk
Okay.
or
Okay.
CPU compute.
Great. Okay. Anyone else want to say? Okay. So what is a virtual machine? So in a layman term, I would like to explain virtual machine is a software based server or a software based machine. What do you guys think about that? Is the definition correct? Any like in a three idiot it says, right, what is a machine? So he explained what the machine is. The same way I'm telling it's a software based machine or a software based server. So it's a virtual entity. It is nothing physical, but it's a software based. So what do you guys think? Is the definition correct? It's a software based server or a
Yeah,
software
that's
based
right.
machine. Yeah. There is a software, right? It's something like it's using a hardware, or it doesn't has a hardware exactly. It's all thing virtual, but what the virtual it is, right? So if we have a platform and there are few files on that, like you have a few files installed on our machine, right? If you install some of the software in their machine, there is a folder known as Outlook, folder known as Chrome, folder known as WinZip, or there is folder known as XYZ, and there are few files in that. So what is that? It is a software, right? So it is, I can say it's a software based server or a software based machine. So we'll go to an exact definition what the virtual machine is, right? So probably I'll read it on this. So virtual machine is is a virtual environment that functions as a virtual computer system with its own CPU, memory, network interface, and storage, created on a physical hardware. Location on and off premises. Software called as hypervisor separates the virtual machine resources from hardware and provision them proportionally so that they can be used by a VM. Got the point? In a computing, virtual machine is an emulation or computer system of a computer system. Virtual machines are based on a computer architecture and provide functionality of a physical computer. Their implementations may involve a specialized hardware, software, or a combination. Virtual machine is a computer file, typically called as image, which behaves like an actual computer. In other words, creating a computer within a computer. It runs in a it runs is a window much like other program, giving the end user the same experience of a virtual machine as they would have on a host operating system itself. Virtual machine is a sandbox from the rest of the system, meaning that the software inside the virtual machine cannot escape or tamper within the computer itself. This produces an ideal environment for testing other operating systems, including beta releases, accessing virus infected data, creating operating system backup, and running software or application on operating system for which they are not originally intended. Virtual machine is an operating system, OS, or application environment that is installed on the software which imitates the dedicated hardware. The end user has some same experience on virtual machine as they would have on a dedicated hardware. So you got the point what the virtual machine is exactly.
Yeah, yeah, Ron.
Okay. So it is nothing but I can say a software-based virtual machine which is created on a VMware, or I can say a virtual environment, right? And it is basically on the end user side. The people who are working on that virtual machine won't come to know it is a physical, or it is a virtual, or it is on cloud, or it is on premises. They will only see the console, the start menu. If you have Linux, they will see the root account. They will only see that there is a system which I'm working on with the proper resources, CPU, memory, RAM, network, or I can say storage, right? So they won't come to know it is whether the virtual machine is virtual, physical, or whatever. They will only feel like yes, it is the system, and we need to configure, or we need to work according to our use cases. Okay. So this is how the I can say uh, okay. So this is how the I can say entire ESXi environment it is, right? So this is the way the entire virtual environment is configured, wherein we have discussed about virtual machine, we have discussed about vCenter server, we have discussed about ESXi server, right? So this is how it is configured, right? So so can you guys tell your I can say thoughts on this, so we can take the questions ahead, right? So on the basic thing, I would like to explain. This is the virtual machine management server, which is the vCenter or vSphere server, right? And these are the virtual machines. So virtual machines has application OS, application DB, application OS. These are on this layer. This is the ESXi server, the physical server, which is has storage, and this is virtual. I can say SMP, which is CPU and memory. This is VMFS, virtual machine file system, and inside the ESXi there are enterprise. I can say these are the different ESXi server. Those are configured into I can say enterprise storage. So storage is another storage part. It is the vast topic, and again it's a network. So if you have a different networks installed on our environment, wherein we have a web app and DB. So web would be connecting to an internet. So there we have a separate internal network. So all those things are configured inside an I can say enterprise network, right? So this is how the virtual environment and how it looks, right? And there are the different parameters like DRS, HA, and backup, right? So DRS is distributed resource scheduler, HA is high availability, consolidated backup is backupping of that particular VM. So to get the high availability of that particular VM, wherein it is backup on a daily or a monthly basis, it stores the backup somewhere, and if anything goes wrong, or if you want to restore that virtual machine on the previous state, we can simply use those backup and restore that particular virtual machine. So this is the, I can say, best diagram, which based on a simple diagram which I have found, right, on internet, which describes how the virtual machine is exactly, and how different parameters of a vCenter environments are interconnected to each other. Right? So this is all about. This was the last slide which I had, right? So probably I'll be open up for questions on anything which we discussed on today's topic, and anything you need more on to understand in this particular topic which we had.
So Rohan,
Yeah.
like if you can give a little bit insight about what are the important or major impacting services of ESXIs, or like a little bit brief on what DRS is and everything, that would be good.
Brief on DRS you're talking about. I
Yeah.
didn't get your question. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, I wanted to know if there are any important or major impacting services which are running on
Mm-hmm.
ESXi, if there are, which we should be aware of, something like
Okay.
that.
Okay, so services would be, see, take an example of services, right? So there are many VPXA, VPXD, HostD. There are many services running on ESXi as well as on the vCenter server itself, right? So probably most of the services are interconnected. So depending upon the impact, we will be able to troubleshoot and able to see, as being a part of service, each and every service is critical on this part, right? So if some services would be stopped, there would be some impact on that particular VM or that particular site, right? So probably on the impact part, we have a HA enabled on the vCenter part also. So if something fails on this, so it goes on, I can say, uh, different ES6i or the traffic is transferred to a different active ES6i or a vCenter server. So that is again, so if you want to explain me a term, if you need and more explanation on the term DRS and HA, I can proceed on the whiteboard. So is there any topic more you require? Anyone else?
No, that's fine. That
Okay.
was quite well explanatory. Just
Okay.
one more
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've heard about something like VMDK file. So what
Okay.
exactly that is?
Okay, so VMDK files is a VMware disk files, right? So as I've already said, the virtual machines are made of a different types of files, right? So I'll tell you what all files virtual machines are made of. Okay, so as already said, like VMware virtual machine is an type of operating system, or I can say it's a software-based virtual machine, right? So when it comes to software, it comes to files. So what all files makes virtual machine, right? So if you browse the data store and if you navigate to that particular virtual machine name, and that the VM folder, right, where the VM is actually present, has the same VM name, has the same folder name as the VM name. As the VM name is VM1, the folder name will also be VM1, right? So there will be a file inside like VM name dot logs, VM dot nvram, the VM name dot vmdk, right? So I will explain you what all files which makes a virtual machine. What is a log file? Log file is self-explanatory. It contains all the virtual machine logs,
Yeah.
right? Okay. NVRAM file is the BIOS state. So if people know, like a physical machine, desktop or any machine, you can see there is a BIOS, right? So BIOS is a basic IO devices, right? So initially when the machine boot, it goes to BIOS. So BIOS has all the system peripherals which are needs to be enabled, disabled, or it's the initial small OS which is previously booted, or it is accessed before the base operating system. So the BIOS file is NVMe RAM file is the BIOS file, right? And these are the VMDK file. So VMDK So VMDK file is a descripted file, right? A VMDK file which contains the and disk is contains the architecture of entire disk file inside that particular VM. So take an example: we have a VM with 5 disks. So there will be one VMDK file. So VMDK file is it's a database file, and then we have a flat.vmdk file. So flat file would be the exact file where the data is stored, right? And data is stored, what all its sizes is there, whether it is thick or thin. So all the data, this is not is a descriptor or a database file, right? Which saves the disk file, I can say stores the database of that particular disk present in that particular DM. And flat.vmdk file is the exact file name, like C drive, D drive, exact size of that particular VM is stored, disk is shown in that particular VM. This NVMe, this is the virtual machine memory paging side. Like we have a paging on each and every, it's the same file. Is SD, it's the metadata of the snapshot. So if you take the snapshot, the VMSD file will be created like VMSD 001 002, right? This is the snapshot state which shows the running state of the virtual machine, wherein take an example. If you created a snapshot, right? People, hope you guys know what this snapshot is. Snapshot is nothing but capturing the active state of that particular VM.
Yeah.
Okay. So this file contains what was the previous state of the machine, right? Your virtual machine was power on, power off at the time of snapshot. So when you revert this snapshot, the virtual machine will again come to that state where it was a power on, right? So again, this is the suspend state file, which is stored. Suspend state is nothing but the server hibernate. You have an option of hibernating over here, right? So what hibernating does, you might guys be aware of. Hibernating is nothing
Rohan,
but,
just one
yeah,
quick question.
yeah, yeah,
One quick question.
yeah.
When we take the multiple snapshots or continuous, will that deteriorate the virtual machine's performance?
Exactly. So what snapshot, how it is work, how it works, right? I'll tell you. Hmm. Okay, so this, take an example. This is the initial disk, right? This is the initial disk. We have taken one snapshot one. We have taken snapshot two. We have taken snapshot three. So take an example wherein 1, 2, 3, 4, where A, B, C, D, and we are here, right? So how snapshot it works, right? So this disk, it will take a snapshot. So this A file, this will become read only, right? So we can only read from this, right? We can do writing. Writing can be done on the present disk, right? The same thing happened with second, same thing happened with fourth, same thing happened with third and fourth. So we have taken 4 snapshots now, right? So you as an user, if you want to access the data A, what you will do? What usually happens? What you will do? Right? If this has D, E, F, whatever, right? So if you want to access data A, what you need to do?
Mount the snapshot.
No. You are the one who asked the question about the snapshot.
No.
Okay. So what do you think? What anyone of you think? What this user needs to do, or the VM needs to do, if you want to access the data for A? Because in, yeah, please.
Sorry, Rohan, your question is I
Okay,
lost in between.
no problem, Dinesh. See what my question is. These are the 4 disks, right? And disk 1 has A, disk 2 has B, disk C, disk 3 has C, and disk 4 has D, right? D, E, F. And this is the active disk now. Because when we do snapshot, the previous disk will become read only. We won't be able to write
Yes,
anything on this disk. We need to write
yes,
on
yes,
this
you
disk
are
only.
right.
Okay. So
Yes.
what if user need to access data A? What he need to do?
You need to merge the snapshot actually. There is an option available to merge the snapshot, but
No.
it will take a long time to merge all the active or the snapshots is created, and then we'll get the real data of the past and the current.
No. See, See what I said, this A drive, one drive is read only, two drive is read only, three drive is read only, and fourth is read and write. You got that point? These three drives are read drive. They are not I can say you can read the data from these drives. It's only
You can
thing you
write.
can't,
You
you
can't write.
cannot write. You cannot write because these are the preserved state of that particular drives, right? So if you want to access these are the different snapshot disk files, a data file 001, 002, this will see, right? If user needs to access data A, the user needs to the data needs to travel from fourth disk to third disk, from second disk and then first disk, right? So he needs to read all those disks. So eventually the read time will be more, the performance will be less. You got the point?
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes.
Okay. So
Ron,
yeah,
but we are taking a snapshot from A, right? A is
right,
my base machine,
right,
like that is
right,
my
right,
original state of VM.
right, right,
So I wanted to ask, like, these are three additional snapshots that I've taken, right? Two,
right,
three, and
right,
four.
right.
So I didn't get that part, like
Which
the one which you said, like what if I want to read from one?
okay. So take an example.
Because we haven't reverted the snapshot, right? Like
I
the
agreed.
VM is separate.
No,
Separate.
I agree. I agree on that. So see, taking a snapshot means creating a different disk. You got this point?
Right. Mhm.
Okay. So this, take an example. We have on the point A, this disk, right? You have stored the data A, right? You have taken a snapshot of this, right, to save A, that the A shouldn't be deleted, or if anything happens to point B, I will be able to get the point A, right? That's the reason you have taken point B. Got the point? And you will see, if you want to protect point B, you have taken point C, and same way you have taken point D. You got the point?
Yes.
So see, this last has only data D. This last disk doesn't have a data A.
Okay, got it.
These are all read only. These are read only. These are read only. The more you take, the more read only copies you create. So what if the user wants to access the data A? He need to travel the entire disk and reach over here, because you can't write this. You can read this. You got the point?
Got
This
it.
last fourth has only data D. It doesn't have data B, C, A. For reading the data C or B, you need to entirely travel to A, B, and C and get that data. So take an example. If you install something on D and the D got corrupted and you want to revert this into C, right? So you
Right.
can simply go to this snapshot, right? So when you are here, you have A, B, C data. What happened? You don't have D. The same thing, if C is corrupted, you can go to B. If B is corrupted, you can go to A. So these are all the I can say read drives, and the last snapshot, which is the active disk which you have, that is read and write. So all the data which you are writing would be on disk 4, or a read write data. So whenever you want to access the old data, the VM needs to travel from all the snapshot disk, right? So snapshot is not a backup. First I mean to say, I want to explain one thing. Just a minute, my son has woke up. Just a minute. Yeah. Yes. So I would like to say snapshot is not a backup, right? Snapshot is just an capturing the disk image. That's it. Capturing the active state of disk image to preserve that if anything goes wrong, you can revert back to a previous state. It is backup is different and snapshot is different, right? So people confuses snapshot from backup. Snapshots are nothing but you are preserving the previous state and you are creating a new state wherein you are writing a new data. So if you want to access the previous data, you need to travel to a previous disk to access that data. So again, eventually, if you go to more
So
snapshot,
Rohan,
yeah,
so
yeah,
Rohan, just to give you my input here, you just
right,
correct me, and for
right,
all of
right,
us knowledge,
right, right,
the intention of snapshot is, say, for example, you are doing some version upgrade, you are doing some patch
right,
management, and
right,
you're not
right,
sure whether it will get success or not. So
exactly,
the
exactly,
administrator, the people, is take a snapshot,
right,
take the current state, and then you can do late changes. If anything
right,
happen, you just
right,
revert. So at least
yeah,
your production is not impacted. Within a
exactly,
fraction of second, you are reverted it to backstage.
exactly, 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 exactly. So to explain more on this, what I would say, I'll tell you. This is a these are the two I can say this is the initial first drive and this is the initial second drive. So this is the initial first drive, right? And it has the it is working part, right? And you have installed something and it got broken and you have taken a snapshot of this, right? So when you take the snapshot, right? So initial, what do you think? See, this is the initial drive, and this is the second drive, right? To clear your doubt, right? So when you take the snapshot of this particular drive one, what will be the size of this? What will be if this is 40 GB, right? This is the entire drive which is 40 GB. What will be the size of this snapshot? Initially, when you took this snapshot, what is the size of this snapshot? As I've
Ideally, it
said,
should be 40 GB, right?
No, I have said snapshot is not a backup. Snapshot, what you're doing, you're preserving this 40 GB, right? And you are creating an external environment to write any data which is not which is, I can say, you are doing some activity, right? And you want to do activity as you said, right? And you want to revert if things get failed, right? So this is the read only copy, this is the active copy, right? And you are taking a snapshot. Again, I'm telling, it's not a backup, right? It's not, this is the entire drive, this is the this is your active drive, right? This is full and fledged your running drive. You are just creating a demo environment to install the new software. This is the demo, or I can say a virtual environment to install, or virtual disk to install your new softwares. As I said, it's not a backup. It's the initial size of this would be something 16 MB or 32 MB something, the snapshot size, the initial disk size which we use. When you start installing the software, you take an example of install a software of 1 GB, right? So this drive will be 16 GB plus 1 GB. You got the point? You're getting what I mean to say, everyone?
Yes, I'm with
So,
you. I understood.
Okay. So this
Rohan,
is,
you meant
yeah,
to say that snapshot will grow.
the snapshot.
Snapshot will grow. Depends upon the changes we are made.
Exactly. See, this is the 40 GB drive, right? So why you need to take a backup of this 40 GB drive again? If you want to access data which is there in 40 GB, you can go back and access. Why you need the backup of this? So it is not a backup. It is just a separate, I can say, disk which is created, a disk which is installed, or disk which is mounted. You install this drive, and if these things get corrupted, you just need to delete this snapshot and this 40 GB is active.
Mhm.
So
Then there's like a point in time capture.
right, it's just a point in time, right? When you see that okay, this 1 GB data which you installed is active, then this 1 GB data will be, I can say, this will be collated between this will be consolidated between each other, and you will get a separate new and this data will be collated to each other, and you will get a separate a new, I can say, a data will be collated into this primary disk, and you will use this 41 GB of or the new GB of whatever things which are installed, like this GB is 40 GB drive and 20 GB is filled, and new 1 GB is there, so it will become 21 GB. So we on
Okay, then
snapshot means, Yeah.
Then whether the snapshot we are storing it in a separate file system or like
No,
something hidden file system or within
no, no.
the
It
VM
is
folder.
this. No, it is the same folder, right? It says it is the extension is VMSD and the disk file which is VMDK. So VMSD
So
001 002. Yeah.
if I'm taking multiple snapshot, then how my file will be differ within any
Okay.
suffix or something like that?
No, that's what I said. It will be VMSD 001 002 003
Oh,
004 depending upon how much snapshot you take.
So it will be stored on the same data store, right? Where
Same
the
data,
VM.
yes, same data store, same VM folder. If
Okay.
you open the VM folder, you explore it, you will see the VMSD files and the number of snapshot. Take an example, you have taken 10 snapshots. So you will see 10 VMSD file and the size of VMSD file of those 10 snapshot will be different. You got the point?
Got it.
So it is very basic to understand. You just remove that in your mind. Snapshot is a backup. It's not a backup. Is what it does is it makes the primary disk read only and it gives you a new disk to play around. So if
like
that
it's
disk,
a restore point.
right, exactly, it's a restore point. It creates a new restore point and it creates a new point and it's give you, you play around that point. And if the things got corrupted, then you can again restore back to a previous point. And if it thing gone, you can merge that this previous and this point together. Got the point?
Yes.
Okay. So on the
Yeah.
previous this snapshot, okay. We'll go to the
Yes,
VM. Yep.
Rohan, I have
Yep.
doubt. Like while
Yep.
taking snapshot, any SSH remote connections may disconnect or like that will
Uh,
happen.
while while taking a snapshot, I didn't get your question.
So I have a remote session with the machine. Okay, consider
No,
that's a Linux
n-
machine.
no. Which you are talking about. You have taken an RDP or if you take a snapshot, the RDP will go or not,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No. It's just creating a separate disk, right? See, the
Mm,
OU, the I can say interface would be there. It would be seamless happening in background. You won't be able to you if you are migrating the virtual machine from one host to other, there would be the few milliseconds wherein you might lose the RDP connection. I'm also taking you might lose, but on the snapshot is nothing. Is just on the back end is taking a, I can say, image, or you can say it is making an existing thing read only, and it's giving you a new disk to play around. So
okay.
there won't be any issue with the I can say connectivity, or because snapshot is only, it only deals with hard disk. It doesn't relates to a CPU memory or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Go. Who is asking? Just ask.
Yeah,
I'll ask later.
yeah, okay. So I have a database server of 20 TB. Okay, I want to
you
take a snapshot of
you
20 TB server.
you
So in that
sir,
case,
sorry, your voice is cracking. What you said? You have a database of
I have a database server which size of 20 TB.
20 TB. Okay.
Yeah, 20 TB. Then whether the snapshot will work or else I need any other solution to take the backup or sorry, like kind of
Snapshot.
a snapshot. Yeah.
No, 20 TB solution will work, but depend upon the data store, right? Where you have an, I can say, if you're taking a snapshot, right? So the data store where you're taking a snapshot should have a space so that a new data can be accumulated on that. You
Mm,
got the point, right? So if you are telling about 20 TB, right? So it's a quite big, huge VM, right? So there would be a disk that would be located in a separate data stores, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, definitely.
again, yeah, that's what. So taking a snapshot of this particular huge VM would be something like, if you're doing some changes, you take this snapshot, and if the changes are fine, you VMware recommends to delete that snapshot, because again the disks are scattered here and there, right? So if there is more IOPS or more read write happens to that snapshot disk, again there is a chances of corruption, and then you might lose the data.
Okay.
So we can
And
do, yeah.
if in case I have a huge number of servers and I'm placing all the servers in a single data store, if I
Mhm.
want to take the data store level snapshot, is that possible?
Data store level snapshot is done on a backup point, right? Yes, you can do it. On the data store level snapshot indices, what the backup tool does, it targets a data store, right? And it targets the VM inside that, and it takes the snapshot of that VM. It doesn't take the snapshot of entire data store, it takes the snapshot of the VMs inside that data store or the folders inside that data store.
Okay. In that case, we require some other plugins to be integrated.
Yes, yes, it is a backup, I can say backup mechanism like Commvault or Veeam backup, right? So there are plugins, right? So they trigger a snapshot level first. Usually what they do is they trigger a snapshot level backup on every day night or something. So it takes a snapshot, it takes, and the snapshot, the file is backed up and the snapshot is deleted, right? It happens, it takes a snapshot and deletes, and once in a week it takes a file level backup, right? So it takes again, eventually go inside the VM, take the backup of the entire files on the file level, and it keeps as a repository, wherein if you want to restore that particular file, it depends upon you're doing a backup of an incremental or a differential way, right? So again, the backup also work in the same way. You have a full backup. So a VM restores, while restoring it, restore from full backup. And if you are looking at data for Thursday, so again it will take the Thursday incremental backup and it will merge to a full backup.
Okay.
Got the point?
Yeah. Yeah.
Any questions further?
Yeah, Rohan.
Yeah,
Hello. I was
yeah,
asking. Yeah.
yeah. Tell me.
Yeah. Like as you said, the initial size of any VM when you take the snapshot is 16 GB, right?
16 or 32 MB something. MB it would be just an MB.
Okay. If suppose if I have a VM of 200 GB, so
Mm-hmm.
while if I've created the snapshot, so right at the moment at the creation, it will take 16 MB space only.
Right, exactly. Till the time you don't write that VM, you don't put new data. Take an example of the Windows, right? You're doing Windows, I can say patching. Take an example. You have 10 patches, and size of that 10 patches would be 100 MB or so, 10 MB per patch, right? So initially it will create a 16 MB, 32 MB. I need to check the exact number. It could be 16 MB size, right? And when you do the patching, right, so patching will happens on the snapshot disk, right? So the 100 MB snapshot, you 100 MB size is used for that particular VM. If you see, okay, the VM is working fine, then what the virtual machine will do, it will merge that 100 MB disk file to the existing 40 GB or 20 GB disk. It will merge itself.
Okay. So the size of the resultant VM will increase, right? If I
Right,
go to edit
exactly.
settings and see the
Right,
if
right.
I go to edit settings and
No,
see
no,
the
edit
hard disk
setting.
space, the
No, hard disk space will be same. You need to go inside and see, like C drive. You go to properties and you will see the size will be increased.
okay, so the utilization will be more, you mean?
Utilization would be good. The disk size won't be increasing. Disk size is common, right?
Okay,
And the
understood. Okay.
again, eventually the snapshot size will only go up to the size of the base VM, right? So if the base VM is 20 GB, the snapshot size will only go up to 20 GB.
Okay. So if suppose if I created a snapshot today and I
Mm-hmm.
leave it for an entire month, and if I
No,
go to delete it after 1 month, and
no
if
problem.
my VM size was 50 GB, so
Right.
at the end of the 50 on the end of the month end,
Mm-hmm.
the size of that machine will maximum can grow up till 50 GB only, right?
50 GB only, right? Right, only 50
Okay.
GB. Because what happens is, it will merge those full data, right, with this and this, right? So eventually the maximum size would be the size of the existing disk.
Okay. Understood. If
Okay.
suppose one more thing, like
Mm-hmm.
if I've created a VM, a snapshot,
Mm-hmm.
and if I leave it for the entire 1 month, like and
Right,
like a normal operations
right,
are going on my VM, so the
right.
VM size it will keep on increasing, or like is the
No, no.
sorry the snapshot size it will be
Snapshot.
increasing, or like it will be constant.
No, it depends. It depends. See what I have already said. In this, I've lost it. So it depends. See, if you are accessing data on the existing drive, which is the primary drive, it won't be increasing. What will eventually do? It will go. It will travel from disk to disk. It will keep on traveling. The data will be keep on traveling from here to here, right? So eventually you are using the space, using the data of this, but you are doing something new, right? You are installing softwares, you are installing something new, or that some new transactions are happening that will happen on this. So it is
Okay,
not
so the
if you keep,
snapshot, so the
yeah,
transaction which happens, it will be happening on the
new
snapshot machine,
transaction,
right?
new transaction, yes,
Yeah, the new transaction it will be happening on the
happening
snapshot file.
snapshot, right? And the old transaction which you are trying to access will be accessed from the primary disk.
Okay, understood.
Got the point? So
Yeah,
if
yeah.
eventually, if after 1 month also, if you are going to, if you are affording that 1 month wherein data traveling is happening and your I can say query is getting a time, that's fine. If you are accepting that, because the data keeps on traveling in this disk and that disk, right? So it keeps on traveling here and there, here and there, here and there. So till the time a new data won't come, the new disk it won't write on new disk. It will take the data from the existing disk. So again, I would like to highlight snapshot is not a backup. It's just creating a restore point, or it's creating a environment to play around with the new files.
And Rohan,
Yep.
have some queries like
Right.
I'm pretty much worried about this data integrity. So if in case I have a
Mhm.
encrypted disk, okay, which is
Encrypted.
attached,
Okay.
encrypted
Okay.
disk which is attached to a Linux VM or some other VM.
Okay.
As per this scenario, I think this the snapshot is getting merged with the temporary snapshot display.
Right.
So
Right.
how about the data integrity? So is that a very known and good solution to go with before any activity, or it's for any like in dev environment somebody will use to do some small activities for that we can use, or we can use it for
Okay.
uh, good solution.
Okay, so it's a good question actually. So if you can see on the snapshot, right? So snapshot, I've started working from ESXi 3.5, right? When I started working on VMware environment, right? So it was vSphere 3.5 where I started. Now vSphere 7 it is. So there, from 3.5 to 7, the snapshot has matured, is enough matured. If you see, I'm talking upon a single on a single, I can say, whiteboard and explain you a snapshot. But actually, snapshot is a vast topic. If you can go to internet, there are people who have wrote around 500 pages of book only on snapshots, right? So snapshot eventually now it's quite matured, right? Till the time there is no disk or a data corruption happening on the data store or the storage level, taking a snapshot and restoring is the best option which you have currently in this market, right? Even AWS or Azure or any other cloud or any other doesn't have this mature solution to take a temporary, I can say, temporary resiliency of the problem which you have, right? So previously they used to do entire backup and stuff. That is not a mode right now. But if you take any other different virtualization platform like KVM or Hyper-V, that doesn't have a same mature solution which VMware has. So probably it is a best recommended solution, but it should be used in an efficient way, like you said. If you have a encrypted or decrypted or whatever drive it is, right? It will simply create a read-only copy and it will create a read-write copy. So once you write on that read-write copy, you are okay with it. Environment is working. You keep test the environment for 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, whatever. If that is fine, it is recommended to commit or delete that snapshot. So it is recommended to commit that snapshot in the previous drive, right? So eventually it will delete the snapshot disk. The data from the snapshot disk will be consolidated to the prime drive, and your performance in your VM is happy as it is, right? So hope that answers my question.
Yeah. Okay.
So on the VM file size, we went up to VM suspend state, which is the hibernating state, which says this happens. This is the configuration date team, and this configuration file containing the team data. This VMX file is the most important file. This is the primary file of the virtual machine, and it is the main core file, and it contains the data of entire virtual machine configuration settings, all the things which is required for that virtual machine. It's nothing but a database of entire virtual machine is stored in this VMX file. And again, this is a supplementary complication file. Virtual machine is not. So these are the core files which are important and which are there in that particular VM folder or in that particular VM folder. So all these files consolidates together and creates a virtual machine. Got the point?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So someone asked about DRS and HA. So probably it will take me more 5 minutes, 10 minutes to explain what is DRS and HA. Right. So you want me to proceed or you want to schedule another session for this?
Rohan, if
Yeah.
it's like probably if it's 10 minutes and it's okay, then
Yeah.
if
It
it's
will hardly take. It will hardly
okay,
take 5-10
okay,
minutes.
then
What
no
is
harm. Then
HA
we
and
can proceed.
DRS?
Like
Right.
if everyone is agreeing,
It will hardly take 10 minutes for me.
okay, then no problem. We can go ahead.
Okay. So I'll explain you.
Rohan, you are doing a great job, man.
No, no. My main concern was doing this was see if you can go to LinkedIn right now is I can see I see many of the posts where people has lost their job, right? So probably
Exactly.
sometime I feel like crying looking at their situation, right? So my main concern of this was at least I would have helped one of the people or one of them to get their job or to enhance their skill. That would be a good blessing for me. So that was the main initiation of this. As if we all are working from home and we have enough time for our, our activities, right? So I don't mind in spending 1 or 2 day 1 or 2 session a week or so, so that what knowledge I have or what all things I have learned, I can explain this to people, right? And even if that they have used in, I can say, getting a job or enhancing their current skill, that would be great for me. So probably it's a difficult time for all of us. So let us support each other, right? So that at least we get everything normal till the time this situation gets normal. Right? So that was my
That's true.
main intention, right? For that.
Yeah.
So we will talk about the HA right now. HA means high availability, right? Dilip, I'm muting you right here. So HA is nothing but a high availability. So what the high availability? It's the term is self-explanatory. High availability means your server should be highly available in whichever scenario, whichever environment, or in whichever condition it would be, right? So take an example. These are the ESXi servers, right? And these are the virtual machines inside that. These red ones are the virtual machine, and this is our vCenter server, right? So eventually, yes, a vCenter server is connected to ESXi servers, and the virtual machines are eventually connected to these red virtual machines are connected to ESXi servers, and vCenter is connected to ESXi. So what high availability means, right? This vCenter server is continuously monitoring all the ESXi servers. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. It's continuously monitoring all the ESXi servers, right? So what happens if this ESXi server one fails, right? So it will the vCenter will come to know that okay, the virtual machine one has failed right now, right? So there are 4 virtual machines running onto it. So what this vSphere HA does, it will migrate this virtual machine to another ESXi host, depending upon the, I can say, the host availability and the resource utilization. Take an example of ESXi host 3. I can say it's less utilized, it might migrate to 3, might migrate to 4, might migrate to 2. So what it does is, if the ESXi 1 gets fails, right? So it reboots the virtual machines, because if ESXi 1 fails, the other ESXi doesn't know the state of that virtual machine, what the state it is, what all things are accessed on that particular virtual machine, right? So this guys doesn't know. So what vCenter does, it migrates the virtual machines to another ESXi node and it reboots it. So after rebooting, it will work as normal as it is on the other ESXi host. So this is the basics about the vSphere HA. So any questions on this?
But at the same time, just to
Right.
add with Rohan, at the same time, what we need to do, what we need to see that once we do the HA enable, we need to keep some kind of a space or some kind of resource compute available to cater the other servers load. Because if you fully utilize
Exactly.
all the load and
Right.
one ESX goes down,
Right.
and the moment VM will start migrating to other, it will impact
Right.
to major disaster kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly.
As a
Exactly.
best practice, we need to keep 20 to 30. That's the best practice. Something so at least tomorrow anything happens, other servers can take that load.
Exactly. You're exactly talking this. You are absolutely perfect, right? The other servers would be some sort of should be free, right? And to add on this, even if the servers are not free, it will accommodate those virtual machines here and there. Then it will keep on begging here and there for resources. So again, there will be problem with the existing VMs which it has, including the VMs it took from the powered off host, right? So again, it will manage it somewhere else, and it will keep on begging resources from different ESXi host or
Yeah. And what will happen on top of that, as Rohan rightly said, it will accommodate. But at the same time, if resource, because see, it's intelligent, auto intelligent enabled in this. If
Right.
you're not getting resources, it will try to catch up from between 2, 3, 4 and if not getting, it will juggling between all of us. At
Right.
that same time, we are thinking we are enabled HA, but
Right.
while failover, it will keep juggling to get the resource from each and every node,
Right.
and it will impact to production downtime sometimes, because while movement, it will give some kind of RTO, that is called as downtime.
Right. Exactly. So is that clear? HA part with everyone? Do you have any doubt?
Rohan,
Yeah.
Rohan, can you explain the
Yeah.
background? Like, will it be possible in as you are continuing for 10 minutes, like the
No.
background, like the VHA master slave
Right.
selection,
Right. So
how the
what
selection take
you
place?
okay. So you have to go drill down on this. So what will happen is take an example of this. These are the four ESX. How the master will be elected, or I can say explain you, right? There are four ESXi machines, right? And how the master is selected, I will explain you. Take an example of four. There are 10 data store mounted on this four. On this 8, on this 3, 9 data store are mounted. On this 4, there are 5 data stores mounted. On this 7, 7 data store are mounted. So what, according to you, who will be the master?
Number 4.
Exactly. Why?
It has more number of data stores mapped.
Exactly. So the people who don't know, the ESXi host with maximum number of data store mounted will be a master. Why? Because this 5 data store are present in this 9 data store are present in this 7 data store are present in this, right? So eventually this will be the master, and it will manage the entire slaves in that particular environment. So if it doesn't find the slave, it will take these 7 machines. It will see 7. So he has the data of all the 7 data store. It will see, okay, with this these 2 machines can be accommodated here, 2 machines can be accommodated here, and 1 machine can be accommodated to me, right? So if this thing fails, then which one will take the role of master, if anyone can tell me?
Number 9, number 3.
Exactly. So got the point. This is the way master election is done in that particular cluster. So in this particular cluster, we have selected 4 ESXi hosts, wherein the maximum number has 4. So it was the master. When it failed, 3 became the master. Then it goes on. So again, when the host fails, it will migrate the resource accordingly. Yes.
Rohan, one
Yep.
question. Like, actually, I was being asked in one of the interviews.
Right.
So So the thing is, like, if suppose if the ESX are having the same number of data stores, that
Okay, so EXX are having a same number, then it will select the virtual. Eventually, if has the same number of data store, it will see the data store which is less utilized, or the VM which is ESXi which is less utilized as a master. Because the reason is the ESXi which is less utilized, reason of that becoming master is it is already performing a role of managing the existing VMs, and also it will I can say take a role of a master to monitor the entire host in that particular cluster and migrating the VMs accordingly. On the 7.0 the architecture is changed, which if you want you can ping me offline. I'll explain you how it works on 7.0, which I am not currently aware of. I just know the basics of it, but I'll read and I'll let you know how the HA allocation works on the equal distributed data stores, the equal distributed ESX servers.
Okay. Rohan, actually, there is one more thing in your, like, actually, even I am not aware of, but
Right.
my colleagues say, like, what do you say? There is something background, like how this vCenter will be getting to know that this ESXi is getting failed, and what it will initiate at the back end.
That is fault tolerance.
No, not I'm talking about the FT,
Okay,
but I'm
okay.
talking about, like, if so this in the these are in the cluster, right? So the one ESXi is getting down, as you said, like it will
Right.
migrate the load as in the VMs to other ESXi in the same
Right,
cluster, right?
right.
So how the ESXi, the other ESXi or the cluster knows that this ESXi is getting down?
No, that's what. See, the heartbeat of that particular VSXi is synced with vCenter server. You got the point.
Yeah.
This
So that's
vCenter.
background I'm telling about. Like, so that's background, like
So see,
process.
that's what the heartbeat is going on. The continuous ping from this vCenter to ASXi is going on, right? So
Okay.
when you enable,
It's like sorry to interrupt, Rohan. Just correct me. It's like, say, for example, you configure Microsoft Windows cluster, right?
right,
There is a heartbeat configured. So heartbeat
right,
constantly within a couple of seconds is keeping that
right,
I am alive. Okay.
right,
So
exactly,
same kind of topology applies here also. The moment
right,
you add all these servers as a one cluster part to
right,
vCenter managing,
right.
so these cluster talking to each other in the
Heartbeat
heartbeat
man.
fashion. The
Exactly.
moment one server goes down,
Right,
if you go the configuration of vCenter, then you'll define how much heartbeat time and all.
right,
So based on that, if you keep talking to, say, I'm alive, say Rohan, me and you, keep talking to each other that I'm still running,
right.
you help me. The moment I'm going down, I'm
Down,
just
right,
giving an alert to you and
alert,
Rohan that I'm going down. You just
right,
take my load. So
right,
that's how
exactly,
it understands the heartbeat and the
right.
collaboration with each other.
Okay,
That's
so heartbeat happens between the cluster also, between the ESX servers, or between the vCenter also. Right. So on the cluster level, ESXi manages. On the cluster level, vCenter manages, right? And on the cluster level, I can say cluster talks to ESX vCenter server, and ESXi or the host talks to cluster. Got the point? So there is an internal heartbeat between that particular cluster, and that happens between the master and slave, right? And after migration of load, where the DRS takes place, right? So DRS is the next topic which I will go through. So after migrating the load, as evenly said, we need to distribute the load properly, right? So distributing that load properly, as the cluster knows was one ESX has gone down and we need to migrate these loads on 2, 3, and 4, right? So how to do that exactly? How to do that? The cluster talks to vCenter server and DRS takes place, and that DRS sees what all load is there, empty, active, whatever, and it distributes the load accordingly. You got the point? So there are two things, which is cluster heartbeat, cluster level master slave talk is going on, and resource allocation. If you using a DRS, the cluster entire cluster is talking to a vCenter server, and vCenter will take the decision. Correct me if I am wrong. Okay, so shall we talk about DRS now? It's HA clear?
Yeah, Rohan.
Okay, any questions? If anything, if I missed, you can ping me, right? Or anything needs to be corrected, you can
Rohan,
ping
I
me
have a
anytime.
doubt.
Right.
Okay, consider this VC is running on one of the VM inside a ESX1. Okay,
Right, right,
now ESX1 itself is going down. Then
right.
how VC will respond?
No, VC will not respond. Then if this is down, if VC is running on this, right, it will go to
Yeah.
different any of the load inside that, right, any of the VMs, depending upon the master slave allocation, right, it will go to any of the VM. Once VC is up and active, right, it will monitor the cluster, boss, everything is fine, anything needs to be migrated. After that the migration will happen, but initially it will randomly go to any of the slaves, and it will try to get the power of the main priority of HA is to powering on that VM, right? Once it gets powered up, then he can be the DRS will take place and migrate the VMs here and
Uh,
in yeah.
yeah, go.
Okay, so shall I talk about DRS now? Can we proceed?
Yeah, Rohan, just one
Yeah,
question here.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's like if my ESXi is not completely down, so it's like it is in hung or something state, or you can say some hardware fault. Like it's not completely down. Suppose
Mm,
it's in a hung state because of some
mm,
reason.
mm.
So will it trigger a HA?
Yes, yes. Even
It
if it
will.
is hung, yes, even
Okay.
it hung, what it is, what the hung state is exactly.
The ESXi is not responding. Suppose like it is not down, but it is up, but it is not responding. It's like that.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. You take an example of machine which is hung and machine which is powered off, right? So take an example of machine which is hung. There are 10 services. Two of the services might be working, eight might not be working, but eventually it is power. It is as good as power off, right? So it is
Okay.
hung itself, right?
Okay. So
So
it will trigger HA.
it will trigger it.
Okay.
So any which way it is hung means usually hung. What usually happens is the machine is up and it gives a P sort, right? Pink screen of death. You might be seeing blue screen of death on your laptop.
Windows.
Yeah, Windows, and in this pink screen of that, wherein machine is powered on, right? But there is some issue with the interline OS or hardware. That's the reason it shows pink screen of that. So in that particular state, either we need to host the VMs are running and it goes on not responding state. It happens wherein the VMs are running on that particular host, and so few of the services are not triggered, wherein you say the machine are hung, wherein the five services are running and five are not. So we need to make the five service on, right? So eventually we can do the machine reboot. So eventually there would be a downtime involved in that particular VM because the machine is or the ESXi is not completely off. And reason, if it is not completely off, the cluster is not knowing that the state of the VM is completely on because the VMs underline are still running, right? So the hardware is getting received, so we need to eventually reboot that particular ESXi host because we can't take any actions apart from reboot because the machines would be in a not responding or a disconnected state where we can't do right click and migrate to that. In this few use cases, you need to take the piece or dumps first. You need to download that dumps, and you need to reboot the VMs, reboot the ESXi. The VMs will be powered on eventually, and you need to if you are able to understand the piece or terms, you can read it from yourself, or else you need to transfer it to you can need to log a GSS case to learn that. They can help you explaining what caused the piece or issue of that particular server, just to find a root cause of that.
Okay. So Rohan, it means like if PSOD comes any ESXi, the VMs will be in disconnected state.
No, it depends on the use case. That's what I'm trying to say. If there are
Okay.
few services running on that, they are able to handle the load of that particular VM. The VMs would be there running, it will be active, and it will be a disconnected state. But if there is an entire kernel failure on that particular ESXi host, right, wherein it says that this is piece out, but the kernel and everything is failed, there is nothing running on this, it will eventually trigger HA. So main
Okay, fine.
concern is in that cluster, this cluster should know कि boss, this ESXi1 is totally dead. If it is lying in between where the ESXi is confusing other that I am running the VMs, there is no need to migrate or there is something else going on inside that particular host, right? At that moment, it is a very I can say a unique cases wherein the VM will be running and it could be a disconnected state, right? So for that, we will initially go and reboot the ESXi.
Okay, fine. We can proceed.
Got it? Okay. So shall I go ahead with DRS now?
Yeah, Ron.
Okay. DRS is nothing but a distributed resource scheduler, right? So the name itself defines the distributed. It is uh, name itself decide it's take the data of entire cluster and it distributes the load according to its the server usage, right? So you have I would say this is the vCenter and these are the ESXi host connected to that, and these are the VMs. So in this case, you can see the ESXi 1, 2 is having 4 VMs, ESXi 3 and 4 is having 2 and 1 VM, right? So how did DRS triggers exactly? How DRS triggers exactly, right? So if it says that this ESXi1 is able to handle 4 loads, it's fine, it won't trigger, right? But usually it says that everything is virtualized over here, right? And the cluster has the data of the entire ESXi host. Take an example of 1 TB of RAM. So 1 TB is not taken from a single ESXi host, it's taken from all the 4 ESXi hosts. So eventually when how the DRS triggers. So eventually vCenter monitors the entire load of that particular 4 ESXi host, right? And it sees that was 3 and 4 are free and 1 and 2 are facing a contention. So it will migrate those VMs over here and it will see all the data stores are, I can say all the, I'm sorry, and all the VMs are I can say intact and they are having a separate I can say a equal resource utilized. So DRS triggers in a two way. One is host based DRS wherein it triggers when the CPU and memory contention is there in particular VM. Take an example of VM1 and VM2 is having 4 VMs and there is the VMs are facing memory and CPU contention and it needs to migrate, it will migrate it right away. That is the host compute based DRS, and one is storage based DRS, which is known as SDRS, storage DRS. So what it does is, so it acts on the data store level, wherein it says the data store is particular data store which is there underline this. So let me create these are the data stores, right? So if you say the users are writing on this particular data store and this data store is getting full, it eventually migrates the disk from this data store to this data store or the eventually free data store. So there are those, this is the host based or the compute based and this is the storage based or a data store based, which is known as storage DRS and host DRS. So any questions on this? And this triggering happens through vCenter because vCenter monitors the entire, I can say, VM utilized in that particular cluster, right? And it eventually migrates. So in this case, there is no master or slave elected. It happens on HA. So in this, there is no master or slave kind of function. vCenter monitors the entire infra, and it decides whether how to migrate the VMs from one host to other host or from one data store to another data store.
So Rohan, one
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So this DRS, is it a continuous activity or it needs an event to trigger this?
Right,
Like,
exactly. So there are three different modes, right? One is conservative. There are other two modes, right? One is high conservative, one is standard, and one is low, something like that. I need to figure out the name, right? So what you do when you keep the data store mode to high, there is little bit activity. It keeps on, I can say, it keeps on migrating the VMs, right? And there is, if you keep it on a mid level, so it will monitor the data store, and if there is little fluctuation, it won't migrate. And low is, again, there is a parameter for low, right? And there is a manual way also. So if you keep it on manual, it won't migrate, it just give you a recommendation, and post on that recommendation you can trigger the DRS. So the volatility of that particular VM migration, you can define that, the how the parameters it will take for VM migration.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So threshold you can set, you want to keep it aggressive, so it will keep on the VMs. There would be little bit fluctuation, it will keep on migrating. If you keep on mid and low way, so it will work a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
So same thing happens with storage also. So storage are eventually thin provisioned. So it is not the exact disk storage or it is installed. It is thin provision. So again, if the thin disk is getting full, and there is no space in that particular data store, so even DRS will trigger and migrate those VM to eventually a different data store which has a less storage.
No, no, just one question.
Yeah.
Like, does this happen anytime? Like,
Yes.
if I want to set a limit, like it should not happen during the business hours, because some
No.
of the VMs are like resource hungry,
Right.
like,
Right. No.
and
No.
while
Eventually, there
we
is no.
mostly
Till 6.7, there was no such option. That you need to migrate that VM at particular time only, right? At the production time you don't migrate, because the main function of this is to get the VM as the best performance. So take an example of production VM is facing a resource contention where it requires a CPU and memory. So what's the point in migrating that VM at night, right? So that VM should perform
right.
well, so it should migrate on the real time basis on that particular time. So that use case I haven't seen till 6.7, because probably backup we can schedule it anytime, because backup causes VM slowness, that it reads the VMDK file, it takes the snapshot, so that causes the I can say VM slowness at the some point. But DRS is the main function of DRS is to provide the maximum number of resources to virtual machines so that it performs well on the peak environment. So it should migrate on the real time basis. So if there is a resource contention and you have to migrate it on the night or somewhere else, so that was doesn't justify the use case.
But we can like exclude any VMs from it. Right? Like you can pin one VM if I don't want it to be moved anywhere else. Like that
We
VM
can,
needs to be on that particular
yeah. So
host.
right. So for that you need to configure the anti-affinity rule, right? So
Okay.
what affinity and anti-affinity rule it is, right? That you need to keep those VM intacted on that particular host, right? So we need to configure that rule so that when the DRS trigger, those VMs won't be migrated to that. The same example I've said of the vSphere HA, right? High availability of the vCenter. That needs to be, vCenter should be on ESXi1 and ESXi2, right? Ideally, it should be separate of that particular, so that even if the one ESXi host goes down, the other VM should be migrated.
Got it.
So Rohan, PD here. So
Yeah,
Rohan,
yeah.
I think anti-affinity is what we are using for a lot of our critical applications, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anti-affinity is it's separate, affinity is together. So again, if you configure anti-affinity rule and you say that that VM should be defined, should take an example, in our environment we have a UPI application, right? So in that UPI we have a separate data stores and a separate ESXi host. So eventually the DRS is eventually if DRS triggers, right? So it won't touch the UPI VMs, right? So that usually happens. Right? We create an anti-affinity rule. So those options are there.
Yeah, hello Rohan.
Yeah.
Rohan, just one question in this context. Like, can we schedule snapshots? Like, if suppose there is activity
Right.
scheduled tonight, today midnight,
Right.
somewhere around 4
Right.
a.m.
Right.
So I want the snapshot to be taken automatically at 3 a.m. So
Right.
can we
Right.
schedule that
Yeah.
snapshot?
So in this use case, I'm not sure about the scheduling is happening on vCenter. I need to work on that. But in a few cases, I worked on the tool like Virialize automation. Whether you guys are aware or not, I'm not sure. it's an automation tool, right? And you do all this automation task wherein you need to schedule. So you just need to schedule the there will be the existing appliance required to trigger that
Okay.
snapshot
So from
schedule.
vCenter level, we can do like a vCenter.
vCenter, I need to check. I need to check. I'm
Okay,
not sure
okay,
about
okay.
it. vCenter,
I
I'm not
think
sure. I need to check.
I
On
think this
ESXi, you can.
automation.
Sorry.
I guess on ESXi, we can schedule the snapshots to happen, right?
That's what it is. I haven't. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think we can. Yeah.
I'll just make this question a note. ESX snapshot scheduling.
I think
I'll take a note of this.
this automation can be possible via this power VMware Power CLI.
Yes, Power CLI also you can do. So you need a script manager for that, or any server
Yeah,
who can fire a script, or you can do it manually and it will run through an Windows scheduler or somewhere, right? So it will
yeah,
trigger using Power CLI and you can do that. But eventually, this scheduling of snapshot use case, it is right when you're taking a backup. So backup has an API or the plugin plugged in with vCenter, right? So when the backup tool generates the snapshot taking API calls, right? So that time it takes automatically. But usually, I'm not sure about the use case you're talking about for scheduling a snapshot, because again, if you are doing some activity, right? So it happens, right? You are stopping some service for that activity. Take an example: if you're patching the server and you're stopping your core services, so the taking take an example of 2 o'clock night, you are scheduled a snapshot and you are unable to complete your activity by 2, right? And you need require 10 minutes more, so again eventually the snapshot is already taken by 2, right? So probably I don't see that I can say what use case you're talking about for a scheduling a snapshot. But scheduling snapshot works on a backup wherein it triggers on particular time. If a manual snapshot, it is for our use case, it is for our comfort. So if it takes 10 minutes more to complete our activity, right? So again you need to go ahead and manually edit that API calls and API the script which you have written to generate on 2 to 2:30, and again it will run on, right? So eventually I haven't seen that option, but again let me see whether we have an option of automatic snapshot which I have noted down. I'll post in group. So anything else on this part?
Nothing.
Nothing from me, Ron. Thank you so much. That it was a really informative session.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm planning few sessions. I'll drop if you need any deep dive on vCenter or something like that, right? So that maximum audience can go through like internal how the network it is, how the vCenter is, or how the storage are configured, how the network are configured, or so we can plan. But eventually, I'm looking out for an overview session for other tools which are requested like VROps, VRA, Log Insight, and stuff. So again, I'm planning few sessions on that. I request everyone to participate on that, and this is the base of I can say vCenter and stuff. But in future, right, there are people, or I can say if you take 100 people, 90 people knows everything about vCenter ESXi, but there would be hardly 10% people who knows about tools, automation, logging and stuff, and the analytics tools, right? So probably I'm planning few sessions for VROps, VRA, Log Insight. VRB is again is a part of VROps itself. So again, I'm gathering the data, the slides and stuff, so that I can show you in hand on that. So probably, as everyone requested for a weekend session, so again, we'll take some time to figuring out and how we can schedule the next session for this. So
Yes, Rohan, I'm with
anytime,
you completely. See, as you rightly said, Rohan,
yeah,
that nowadays vSphere is in virtualization technology.
right,
The vSphere is a master, so it's always
right, right,
everybody knows nowadays.
right, right,
But as you rightly pointed
right,
here, people know basic, but the beauty VMware has expanded
right,
a lot from the
right, right,
complete end-to-end orchestration and the
right,
technology,
right,
which
right.
needs to be broadcasted to people.
Right, 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 right. So eventually, what I've thought is to first clear out with the basics of what vCenter, ESXi, how it is, right? And later on, I can plan few sessions for VRA, VROps, right? VROps is again a beautiful tool, right? So probably people who has worked on or are hard on would really love this tool. It is quite best tool for performance metrics, for analytics, for dashboard. It is the best tool for virtualization in market, right? For monitoring part, right? And again, the we realize automation, again it's an automation tool wherein you can automate your deployment. You can do software installation. You will have a self-service portal like you have Amazon, Flipkart. You have your portal wherein you click resource, you select your size, and you click on buy. The same service portal is I can say developed using realize automation, where you have an option to select your VM. You click on, I can say, a particular virtual machine. You click on their network, the resource you want, the VM name. It is completely a tailor-made solution for VM deployment. So most of the private cloud environment like banks and stuff are going with realize automation. Most of the people who are less critical, they don't want to spend money, they go for a public cloud like Amazon, AWS, and Azure stuff, right? So this is the public cloud, I can say, tool which is widely used for machine provisioning and automation, which I have already said. We can use it for orchestration. You can integrate it to a different agent, clients, software, etc. So you can do anything on using that we realize automation. Right? So I'm planning few sessions for that too. So eventually we'll let you know on group how we can proceed on
Sure.
I think
Sure,
that
Rohan.
would be a really
Thank
good session, because considering there are a lot of people in the market, as you rightly said,
that.
80 to 90% of people already know how virtualization works
Right,
and have
exactly,
deep dive
exactly,
and information about vSphere, ESXi, and all those things, and
exactly,
managing the day-to-day operations. But
exactly,
there are less people who have insights about the other products that VMware is offering.
exactly,
Basically,
exactly.
that VRA, VROps,
Right,
VRP, and
right,
login site. And these
right.
actually is a complete suite of product that VMware is offering, which actually
Exactly.
helps you to run your private cloud in a much
Exactly,
efficient way. That
exactly.
really helps us, Rohan. Thanks a lot.
Right. Yeah, yeah, no problem, no problem. So fine, then it's better if everyone allows. We'll stop the session, right? And if any
Yeah, yeah,
question
Rohan.
comes, yeah, if any question
No,
comes out, you can drop on group, right? I've made everyone as an admin today, and you can loop your people, loop more people, because I have few VMware architects and stuff joined on that particular group. So the things which I don't know, they will definitely help you, right? So I have encouraged few of them to join this group. The few of them were supposed to join today, but probably this being a weekend and other priorities, they might not have joined. But yes, that group will be very much helpful, wherein you can post your doubts, right? So I am recording this session, so probably if anyone require, I can share this session too, right? And if anyone comes after that and they require some basics, even we can share this session to them, right? So eventually, it will help us to grow together, right?
Yes, Rohan. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you,
Fine then.
Rohan,
Yeah,
for that take.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No
thanks so
problem.
much, Ron.
Yeah,
yeah.
you're welcome.
Thanks you, Ron.
Yeah,
Thank you very
yeah.
much.
Thanks everyone. Bye
Rohan,
bye. You
Rohan,
take care.
you are
Yeah.
based where? Sorry, I lost. You are based where?
I am based in Mumbai right now.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay then. Thank
thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you,
Thank you,
Rohan.
Ron.
Yeah.